Once we have our part faced and we have it center drilled and drilled, the next step I'm going to do is to slow my RPM down, and I want to deburr these surfaces. I want to remove the sharp corners here so I don't cut myself. I want to make sure that I have my saddle moved back. I don't want anything in my tool post because I don't want to have a sharp tool here that I could possibly cut myself on. I'm going to turn on my lathe to a lower RPM. I'm going to take my deburring tool that I have right here, and I'm going to touch off inside my part so that I remove the burr on the inside of that diameter. I'm also going to take my file and I'm going to file the outside corner so that I don't have any sharp edges or any burrs on the outside of my part. That should give me nice smooth surfaces. The next thing I want to do is get my deburring tool, not my deburring tool, my parting off tool, and I'm going to use my parting off tool to actually cut my washer off here at a certain thickness. Now, one thing that I need to know about my parting off tool is the thickness of the insert. If I measure this, the thickness of this insert is 118 thousandths wide. So I need to make a mental note of that. And I have different types of parting off tools. This is a carbide inserted parting off tool. I also have a high-speed steel parting off tool. Doesn't matter which one you use, either one will do the same job. You can just run this one a little higher RPM than what you can the high-speed steel parting off tool. I'm going to put this in my tool post, and I'm going to start off by centering it. I want to make sure that I'm running on center with my part. You can see I'm running a little bit low here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my tool up so that I'm running on center. If I'm running too high above center, I'll be cutting with the front of my tool. If I'm running too far below center, the part will want to roll up on top of my tool and it'll break my insert. So I need to make sure I'm running at the right height. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my tool over and I'm going to touch the edge of my tool on the face of my part, and I'm going to zero out on my readout my Z-axis. So I have it zeroed. Now this is where I said the width of that tool is important. I said it was 118 thousandths wide. So I'm going to move the width of my tool over 118 thousandths because I don't want to cut with the front face of it. I want to cut with the back face of it on my part. So I moved over 118 thousandths. Now I'm going to zero this out again. And if you look at our part, whenever I move this in, you can see that the edge of my tool, the back edge of my tool, is even with the face of my part. So that means whatever distance I move now, that's how thick my washer is going to be. We said our washer on our print here was calling out 62 thousandths wide. So I'm going to move over 62 thousandths. And we're allowed plus or minus 10 thousandths on this dimension. So I'm actually going to go a couple thousandths bigger. I'm going to go about 66 thousandths on my width. I'm going to use my dimensions. I'm going to turn my lathe on. I'm running this about 350 RPMs. And when I come into touch, I'm going to do one continuous feed motion. If you take and you stop the lathe, like I did right here, if I let that lathe tool sit there for very long, it'll actually work hard in the surface of my part, and it won't want to cut very well when I go to start back out. So I want to keep a nice steady feed rate going into my part. And at this point here, what I'm going to do before I finally part the whole way through it, I'm going to stop, I'm going to back this out a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my file, and I'm going to touch my file on the back side of this washer, because once I have that parted off, it's going to be very, very hard to remove that burr on the back side. Now that I have the burr removed, I'm going to continue to go in and part this off. When you get close to the end, you get close to that hole, you'll be able to see down inside that little groove, you'll be able to see it kind of break apart, and you'll be able to tell roughly where you're at when you're close to parting it off. I think we're getting really, really close here. We parted it off, and now I have a washer right here. Now the washer may be a little bit warm, because we did just just cut it with our parting off tool. But that's what the washer is going to look like. What we need to do now is we need to remove the burr that's on here from our parting off tool.